Good morning. Police have arrested a man after a doorman was killed whilst trying to break up a fight at former UK's The Only Way is Essex TV show star Elliot Wright's restaurant. The father of two, Jose Rafael Pisano Prado, who was 55, died in hospital on Sunday after suffering life-threatening injuries when he intervened in a brawl at Oliver's La Cala restaurant in Marbella. Mr. Pardo, a bodybuilder from Venezuela, is thought to have hit his head on the ground during attempts to eject one of the men involved in the fracas. Now, police have arrested a man in Malaga who is thought to have been held on suspicion of manslaughter amid unconfirmed reports that Mr. Pardo had been pushed or punched in the altercation before losing his balance. Well-placed sources have described the arrested man as an Irish national, although there has not yet been any official confirmation of his nationality or age. The arrest came just hours after locals targeted Mr. Wright's restaurant with graffiti, calling him a killer. The front of Oliver's La Cala restaurant was spray-painted bright pink with the Spanish words which translate to Killer Elliot and Mafia. The building was vandalised after Mr. Wright announced he was closing it for 2 days following the death. Mr. Pardo was knocked unconscious on Saturday night and taken in a serious condition to a hospital in Malaga, where he was admitted to intensive care. Well-placed sources said he'd been declared brain dead and his life support machine was switched off after hitting the back of his head. He's thought to have fallen to the ground during attempts to eject one of the men involved in the fracas. The government yesterday approved a plan to make available around 50,000 houses for rent at affordable prices as part of measures aimed at curbing soaring rents and house prices. The apartments will come from the state-controlled Sareb Bad Bank that was set up in 2018 to manage and sell off troubled banks' most toxic assets during the international financial crisis. The Sareb plan follows a much-hailed agreement last week between the coalition partners and their parliamentary supporters for what would be the first housing law. The bill, expected to get full parliamentary approval in the coming weeks, will envisage putting a 3% cap on apartment rent increases in 2024 in so-called high-tension areas where rents increase the most and restricting increases in further years. As of 2024, rent increases will no longer be linked to the country's high inflation rate, but rather to a new lower index. Rents and house prices, alongside unemployment, are considered the biggest problems, particularly amongst young people and low-income families. The government said it was making 21,000 Sareb properties available to regional and city authorities. Prime Minister Sanchez promised to increase public housing from less than 3% to 20% of all housing, but didn't give a time frame for this. The EU average is 9%. And amid a long-term drought and an exceptionally dry spring, water reserves are only half full, according to a report released yesterday from the Environment Ministry. Whilst water levels have improved since September, when they were just a third full after the scorching summer, spring water levels are 17 percentage points below the 10-year average. Overall, national water levels are close to those recorded at the same time last year, although the situation has dramatically worsened in parts of the Mediterranean and southern Spain. That's the latest from TRE. I'm Bob James.